have the what's it called, the trademark, isn't it?
That's right.
You own the trademark to the Kilner jar.
I do, yes.
You've got it.
I have it now on behalf of the company.
Your company,
yes,
and you're not doing anything with it.
Which one, the Kilner brand?
Mm.
Oh no, we are. Yes.
You
yes,
are.
Oh yes, very much so.
What are you doing?
We are selling the Kilner jars.
You're kidding?
We are indeed.
I'm proud of this fine old British name.
Since the Kilners closed down in 1937, the Kilner brand has been owned by a succession of different glass companies.
Yeah. So you do Ravenhead. You bought the Ravenhead name as well.
We bought the Ravenhead name along with all its trademarks, which included the famous Kilner brand.
I just assumed you'd be the sort of chap who'd sort of own a load of names, and then if somebody came along and said, "Look, we fancy doing this," you'd flog the name on.
No, no, no. We sell these to all the independent cook shops throughout the UK and Ireland.
You see, when we began this programme, I thought this was a Kilner jar. You know, I've got something similar to this at home, so I thought, yeah, that's a Kilner jar.
Right.
But as it turned out, in the course of learning it, the Kilner, yeah, that.
Now, these were purchased by one of our guys at Rayware, and this appears to be a genuine Kilner jar.
Yeah, and these are made in Indonesia, I see.
Yes, I thought they were made in Italy. This particular one, the dual source, some in Italy and some in Indonesia. Unfortunately, no longer viable to be made in the UK.
It's a sad story for British industry, but it's sort of a good ending for Kilner, really, that.
During its 100-year history, the Kilner jar has changed beyond recognition. But the name, at least, lives on as a reminder of the Kilner's place in Britain's industrial past.
In the 18th and the 19th century, Britain was just the most enormous superpower that the world had ever seen, and it was only because there were thousands and thousands of people like the Kilners making whatever it was they were making. It was just this great big patchwork quilt of ingenuity, and it's just thrilling to know that my ancestors were a part, a small part, but a part nevertheless, of that process. William Clarkson, Thomas Clarkson, Edward Clarkson.
Sarah Clarkson.
Yeah, you have to come down this way. And that's Grandad. And those are his parents.
Yeah.
So that's
confusing.
his mother's parents.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go all the way back, and we found out that this one, he died in 1857, so he's your great-great-great-great-great-grandfather.
Got it, yeah.
He invented something.
What?
He invented a special type of bottle.
Interesting. Plastic bottle?
No? No, plastic. Shall I show you?
Yeah.
So poor Jeremy Clarkson wasn't able to claim £1 billion fortune after all. Obviously, we share his disappointment. Still a great story though, much of which was to be found in the last wills and testaments of Jeremy's ancestors. Wills are extremely important in tracing family history, as Nick Barrett's going to tell us. Nick's the historian and genealogist who worked on the series. There was a great moment in the film, Nick, where Jeremy found out just how wealthy his ancestors were by looking at Caleb Kilner's will. So you've got it there.
Well, yeah, I mean, wills are an important source for genealogists because they tell you so much more about the person concerned. And in this case, as you can see, it's a fairly extensive document. We have a great amount of information about the extent of Caleb's business, not just in terms of stocks and shares, but also the amount of property he owned as well. I mean,
are they all this long? I mean, you could go forever looking through.
Exactly. It's one of the great jobs of a family historian to read through all of this legal jargon, but you do have some great nuggets of information. I mean, here we have the underwritten properties that he was giving away. 17 houses here, 13 houses elsewhere. You get the feeling that he owned most of Conisbrough, which in its own right shows how successful his business must have been. If we skip forward 20 years...
A rather lighter document.
much thinner. And it looks like his son, George Kilner, had squandered large chunks of the business. Most of the houses have gone, and the stocks and shares have also diminished. So his father, Caleb, leaves £142,000. 20 years later, his son, George, only leaves about 10% of that.
It's always difficult to work out what the money's actually worth, and with respect, it's probably a question for an economist rather than a genealogist, isn't it? But we might say 142,000 allowing for inflation is £3.5 million in today's money, but even that doesn't tell the whole truth, does it?
So there are sums you can do. You can have a look at, for example, the price of a loaf of bread and work out in relative terms someone's fortune. I mean, £3.5 million in today's money, you know, it's a sort of annual salary for a footballer, but back then that is a vast sum in terms of what you can do with it.
Beyond wealth or the lack of it, what else do wills tell us?
They tell you about the person, partly in terms of what they give away, so you get a sense of personal possessions, but also social standing through a circle of friends, for example. You have to really read between the lines. But wills can also reveal private information about someone. Bearing in mind these documents were meant to be read after someone's death, they can give you an insight on some of the secrets they'd harboured over their lifetime.
There's some personal stuff in there. And I'm not sure I'd like my nosy Parker of a great-great-great-grandson looking through my affairs like that, but there's nothing I can do to stop him or anybody else.
Well, that's true, apart from obviously being careful what you put in your will. Yeah. But that, you're quite right. After 1858, you can order up any will in England and Wales, in London at the Probate Registry Office. Before that date, you've got an even easier way of getting hold of wills. They're available online through the National Archives website. And there are separate systems for Scotland and parts of Ireland for surviving wills as well. So in theory, yes, you can get hold of this very personal information.
Thanks, Nick. For lots more information on how to do your own research, digital viewers can press red for our interactive programme. There you'll see the next film in Nick's How-To series, and there's 2 short films, not made by telefolk, but by real people. The real people have some really great stories. And of course, there's the website, bbc.co.uk/family history. Everything you need to get started on there, as well as links to most of the main sites you'll need. That's all for this week. Next week, Ian Hislop journeys from his home in the south of England to South Africa to investigate his Scottish ancestors' involvement in one of the most famous battles of the Boer War. Until then, press your red button or go online for more.
Abandoned at birth, Minouche has spent her life thinking about her mother.
She's very kind, you know, she left me and, you know, that kind of attitude. It's in her, it's a whole makeup of Minouche, what has happened to her.
3 generations of women on an emotional journey of discovery. Family Ties, next on BBC 4.
To request a free guide to research